You're calling the democratically elected president a dictator? Trump signed 220 executive orders when he was in office. President Biden so far has only signed 139. Speaker Mike Johnson, who was calling on President Biden to take executive action, saying it wasn't Congress's responsibility, it was his.
Burger boy Doug Burgum, who at this point I believe is the front runner to be Trump's VP, went on CNN to discuss Biden and his policies and gave some absolutely unhinged answers that I thought would be great to look over, as they're pretty easy to counter as they came far out of right field. So let's start with the claim that Biden is a dictator.
You're calling the democratically elected president a dictator?
Well, we've got three branches of government. And this president, more like any other, has bypassed Congress because as a governor of a natural resources state and a big ag state, we're facing over 30 rules and mandates. Each one of those could be 800 pages to 1,400 pages long. None of them have come from Congress, and all of them could literally kill the industries that we have in our state, including baseload electricity, which we need to be competitive in the arms race around AI with China, who's building baseload electricity plants like 2 a month. So that's happening without Congress. And then, of course, on the student loan thing, when the Supreme Court ruled against him, then he just said, hey, we'll figure a different way to do it. So I just think that there's, again, a double standard here. He is bypassing the other two branches of government to push an ideological view, whether it's on economics or whether it's on climate extremism. He's doing that without using the other branches.
Now, to be clear on what his position here is, the guy who tried to overturn a free and fair election tried to force his hand to handpick fraudulent electors to be used in states, tried to pressure those states' officials and his own VP even to overturn the results, and is now running on a platform where he will disband all these different parts of the government and replace everyone he can with people who are deathly loyal to him and will follow his every order without questioning him, and has praised every global dictator while also getting elected in 2016 against the wish of the popular vote through the Electoral College. He lost the popular vote. That guy, totally not a dictator. Totally not. But the president, who was actually democratically elected, won the popular vote at that. This guy is a dictator for using presidential actions, his presidential power. And again, to be perfectly clear, he also supports the Supreme Court, which isn't democratically elected, has no standards they have to follow. They don't have to adhere to what the American people want, and they can choose to just overturn laws or rule in ways that favor the people who give them massive donations of millions of dollars in gifts. That's what you support. But the other guy is a dictator? Oh, okay, I mean, let's continue.
You don't like his executive orders and you don't like his policies. I understand that. I don't think anyone expects the Republican governor to agree with President Biden on that. But it's not a dictatorship.
Well, I think, again, part of where this word has come from there's been a nonstop media attack on President Trump, saying that he might use executive orders when he takes office. And was trying to make the point here that under this current administration, most of the changes that are driving inflation in our country, the stuff he's not doing on the border, which he could be doing with executive orders. I mean, the open borders and the inflation are things that he's doing by himself alone, ignoring the otother branches of government.
Well, I counted. Trump signed 220 executive orders when he was in office. President Biden so far has only signed 139, the same time span. And on executive action on immigration, it was Speaker Mike Johnson who was calling on President Biden to take executive action, saying it wasn't Congress's responsibility, it was his.
Caitlin Collins is honestly so good at this. I mean, if Biden's a dictator with almost 100 less executive actions than Trump did in the same amount of time, then Trump is a super dictator. And it just gives away the game. Also, how Republicans literally just want to make anything political no matter what Biden does. They tell Biden verbatim they're not going to sign the bipartisan border legislation that Republicans led in terms of drafting because Biden can and should use executive action, and that's the way to do the border. And then when he uses executive action on the border now, he's just a dictator, and it's still bad that he used executive action, or he should have done it years ago, which again, the reason he tried to pass it through Congress is executive action on the border always gets held up in courts. Regardless of what it is, the other side will sue, and it will almost definitely just get blocked that way. It happened to Trump, it's happening to Biden, and furthermore, executive action can then just be overturned by the next president or any future president. So if you want to have permanent, lasting change on the border, the answer clearly would be to pass it through Congress. Then the only way to undo it would be to pass something else through Congress. And if it was a good bill, you wouldn't let that happen. But for Republicans, it's all politics. And this is the one issue they feel like they're winning on in an election year when they have nothing else to run on. So why would they solve it and give away their only talking point?